back and we're doing another comparo. Today we've got the Polaris RZR Trail S 1000 Premium over here, and then on this side we've got the Polaris RZR Trail S 900. Now they're both in the same trail category, which means they're a narrower, shorter, smaller bodied vehicle than the RZR XP range. The benefit of that is that exactly what the name says, the trail aspect. You can kind of get in and around trees and through kind of tight, tough terrain without kind of the same wheel width and body width that'll scrub and bash up against bits and pieces. So for trail riding and that kind of thing, that's what these are designed for. So before we go and get stuck into all our testing, let's have a quick look at the differences between the two models.
One of the big differences with these two models is actually obviously the engines. You've got about 125cc difference between the 999 and the 875, and then you've got about 25 horsepower difference as well. This model runs the turf mode, which retards one of the inside rear wheels so that you can turn around without ripping up your grass. The 1000 actually doesn't have that mode in it. That's about all there is really difference in the powertrain. They've both got low and high and reverse and park and neutral, and they both run that on-demand all-wheel drive as well. So in terms of power, they're your two big differences. They both run the same RZR cage, which is pretty safe, which is excellent, and I think it's a better system than what's in some of the other models, and it'll prevent you from getting injured in a rollover. The big difference though with these two machines is actually in the suspension and in the tyres. The Trail S 1000 Premium runs the Walker Evans gear, and the Trail S 900 runs the Sachs ZF suspension, which is the standard suspension Polaris use on their more base model vehicles. The Trail S 1000 also has the longer stabiliser arms and the A-arms by about 5 or 6 centimetres off the top of my head, and it also has, which makes it a wider vehicle, which we'll be keen to see if it's a bit more planted, and it also has about 5 centimetres extra ground clearance than the Trail S 900. So overall that makes the Trail S 900 a more narrower and compact machine than the Trail S 1000 Premium, and if you are thinking about getting in and around tight spaces, the Trail S 900 has probably that covered on the spec sheet, but the Trail S 1000 Premium, being a wider vehicle, should, as we'll find out, be a bit more planted and sure-footed on the ground. The last big difference is in the tyres. The Trail S 1000 runs the Trailmaster 27-inch tyres as opposed to the Trail S 900, which runs the Polaris tyres on a 26-inch piece of rubber. Alright guys, that's the differences between these two Trail S models. We're going to go out and do a whole bunch of testing and see if we can pick up the differences and figure out which one we think suits who better and which one we would probably rather spend the money on. Alright, we're done now with our comparison between the Polaris RZR Trail S 900 and the Polaris RZR Trail S 1000 Premium. The power wasn't the thing that stood out on these two vehicles, it was the chassis, the footprint, and the suspension, the tyres and the wheels. The difference I think is about $2,000 or $3,000 depending on the dealer you go to and the deal that you get and the extras that you get. And our takeaway from the entire weekend of trail riding these things together was that the $2,000 or $3,000 extra for the Trail S 1000 Premium is well worth the money over the Trail S 900. The difference in suspension is significant. You got that standard Sachs ZF gear in the Trail S 900 and you got that Walker Evans needle shock stuff in the Trail S 1000 Premium. Now that itself is worth $2,000 or $3,000. You get not only better ride comfort, but you get more travel in your suspension. So you've got about 5 centimeters more at the front and about 6, 7, 8 centimeters more at the rear, depending on how you set your shocks up. And that extra suspension travel makes for a better ride. So on the Trail S 1000 Premium, you also have a longer A-arm and stabilizer bar. It's about 2 or 3 inches longer than the Trail S 900. That's what gives you that wider footprint between your wheels, and it's also what gives you a better ride stability. And you can notice it when you're looking straight at them, it looks so much wider, and you can see those stabilizer and A-arms kind of hanging out from the vehicle. So the other thing we really liked was the extra ground clearance. We found that the Trail S 900 never got caught up really and stopped from going anywhere the 1000 did, but it smashed and banged into a lot more rocks and logs under the long grass that we couldn't see, and you just risk doing some damage to some of your gear underneath the vehicle. So the extra 5 centimeters ground clearance was certainly better on the Trail S 1000 for everything that we did. The 25 horsepower difference, it's actually not that noticeable. So if all you want to do is go fast in a straight line, but you want to save some money, the 900 is probably not a bad buy. Around a racetrack, you picked it up a little bit, but providing you're a good steerer, you shouldn't be let down too much by that 25 horsepower difference. Even though that's a quarter of the power, it actually didn't translate to that much power to the ground on our track. However, we did find that the 0 to 100 meters was significantly quicker on the Trail S 1000. So you were quicker by about 2 seconds almost on the 100 horsepower 1000 as opposed to the 75 horsepower 900. But if you're just trail riding, the difference is it's not big enough really to warrant spending the money on it just for the power. So another thing that we really liked was the bigger, only an inch, but the bigger tyres on the Trail S 1000. They're a 27 inch. And they run the Trail Masters as opposed to the Polaris tyres on the 900, which is a 26 inch. That bit of extra diameter in the wheel helps you crawl up and over things. It also improves the ride comfort of the vehicles.